Hello, Sarasota moms and dads. Did you know that nearly 10% of all school-aged children in the U.S. live under the label of attention deficit slash hyperactive disorder, otherwise known as ADHD? And ADHD diagnosis rates have reached an unprecedented level, with more and more kiddos being diagnosed ADHD every single day, every single year. So if you are someone that has a bright, creative child who struggles to focus, or still maybe you have a child that fidgets constantly and they have problems with emotional meltdowns. As a parent, we know here that your heart breaks when you see them struggling in school or struggling to make those connections for friends and things like that. Now, if you've listened this far, you're probably one of those parents that have already tried various behavioral programs, elimination diets, supplements, and maybe even you've had to resort to stimulant medications, hoping that something helps your kiddo. But if lasting relief seems to be elusive for you and your family, an overlooked root cause might be to blame, which is an impaired vagus nerve. Most parents who struggle with ADHD, especially if it's on the hyperactive or impulsive side, they themselves live in fight or flight. They're worried about how their kid's going to react to certain situations, where their kiddo might need to be still, maybe they need to be calm, they're taking a test, or even they just need to focus. But that causes you yourself as a parent to be in that fight or flight state because you don't know what's going to happen. I'll never forget Mabel, who was a 7-year-old diagnosed with ADHD who came into our office, whose mom, she finally found pediatric chiropractic. Mom was trying to avoid medications, but she received so many emails daily on end about her daughter's behavioral problems at school, and she felt that it was just a matter of time before she would have to turn to stimulant drugs in order to help bring her girl down to a more calm level. At Mabel's consult, she couldn't sit still, and in fact, she jumped right up on the table, jumped off. It was actually kind of impressive, and I myself couldn't help but laugh or smile. But Mabel's mom, on the other hand, she was horrified and very apologetic. But after explaining to her that we all understand these struggles, most of us here are parents, she felt like a weight had been lifted off of her shoulders and truly knew that this was the right fit for her. So what does the vagus nerve have in connection with ADHD? Well, Mabel's mom had heard of the vagus nerve before and its association with gut-brain connection, but initially wrote it off because Mabel no longer struggled with constipation she had experienced when she was a toddler. And while the vagus nerve does substantially influence gut health, it's a unique and widespread pathway that influences way more than just the gut. In fact, over 75% of nerve fibers carrying sensory signals for organ function travel along vagal pathways. That means 75% of how your organs communicate sensory-wise to the rest of the body travel via the vagus nerve, which makes the vagus nerve disproportionately influential in the coordination of multiple body processes that are critical for health and overall well-being. When the vagus nerve is not functioning properly, you do have problems. So you'll have things like insomnia, headaches, fatigue, anxiety, gut issues, and overall poor focus. The vagus nerve is a critical messenger in carrying signals between the brain and organs that regulate heart rate, breathing, digestion, inflammation levels, sensory processing, the entire parasympathetic relaxation system. So when the vagal superhighway develops dysfunction from early trauma, chronic stress, or poor nervous system communication, children display all the hallmark signs of ADHD. And research now clearly ties vagus impairment to attention/focus challenges like hyperactivity, sleep and digestive disorders, emotional dysregulation, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. We could go on with that list forever nearly. So if you have exhausted typical treatment options without results, and maybe you are someone that just wants to avoid medication side effects altogether, specialized testing and natural support and stimulation for the vagus nerve provide a new hope for families who want to put drugs and medication to the last resort. So this is where I want to get a little bit nerdy and dive into the science behind the vagus nerve. And I promise I'll make it applicable. I know. I will make it applicable. But It's just fascinating when you really map all this out developmentally, how many connections there really are with the vagus nerve and overall well-being as a human. So the intricate pathways of the vagus nerve and the neuromuscular tissues and pathways surrounding the vagus nerve are extremely sensitive to both tension and inflammation. So physical trauma during birth, infections like PEMDAS or COVID-19, poor diet, toxin exposure, all cause what is called subluxation along the vagus nerve pathways. And that subluxation leads to impaired signaling capacity and overall neurological imbalances. So common birth interventions including vacuum, forceps extraction, C-sections place enormous physical strain on the vagus nerve and its surrounding physical tissues, especially when you think about these sensitive areas up here. Spinal tension, misalignments, and subluxation frequently occur in this delicate brainstem and upper neck region, and that really interferes with the communication for the brain with the vagus nerve and the rest of the body. So the moment that you start yanking and pulling, and if any extra tension manifests there and any extra damage happens up here, it creates a whole, it's like putting a roadblock on a highway. It's very hard for the rest of the body to communicate properly. And this leads to, furthermore down the line, alterations in gross motor development, sensory modulation, and overall their development can also, this development can fuel gut issues, food sensitivities, sickness, and heightened inflammation, all disturbing vagal tone further as these conditions persist and become repetitive. Now, as a child, they grow more and more. Regular childhood injuries happen, poor posture from devices, and dental or cranial restrictions can also place stress on the vagus nerve. Medications like antibiotics can also alter and inhibit key nerve signaling capacity over time by disrupting and really killing the gut biome and the gut-brain connection. So that's how your brain communicates with the biome. You have little organisms in here, and usually something like an antibiotic is anti-discriminatory. It's like chemo, not as intensive as that, of course, but it wipes the whole gut of any bacteria, good or bad, which really leads to a lack of serotonin and all these other things that are produced in the gut. Now, gradually, the rest and digest system stays suppressed and underactive due to this, and then symptoms like headache, anxiety, poor stamina, and intestinal discomfort, sleepiness, heart palpitations, they usually increase. And attention span, impulse control, and emotional regulation are, unfortunately, the ones that falter due to that. And those are all the hallmark signs and struggles of ADHD. But much like Mabel, we tailor our protocols to each every individual's needs to work to stimulate and strengthen each and every child's vagus nerve, restoring nervous system balance gently. We know it's hard for most kids to sit still for an assignment, behave for a long time in an office, and we don't, they may want to jump off the table during an adjustment, and that's okay. Our office is pediatric focused, and all of our systems are set up to make it easy for them and comfortable for them, and comfortable for you too, mom and dad, because we know sometimes it's not the easiest to have your child act like that. This is a comfortable space for you as well too, where no judgment happens. So the first step really involves gathering a detailed, personalized history for each and everyone involved, really for your child especially. And we determine through a set of insight scans the function of the autonomic nervous system and the function of the vagus nerve, which will enable us to have a direct, the insight scans enable us to have a direct measurement of how child's subluxation patterns are and where they're experiencing dysautonomia. Now, this step is essential because it allows us to identify and track the foundational issues at the root cause. So here is a scan. This is Mabel's scans, and clearly you can see, so red is significant, green is going to be mild, blue is moderate, and for neuromuscular tension. And while at rest, Mabel's scans had an excess of neuromuscular tension built up in the nervous system. That's going to be those red bars in the scan. Remember, we talked about the sensitive area next to the brain stem and the upper neck. And this extra energy that the brain is picking up is from the body, and it's telling her cerebellum and her central nervous system that she should move fast. She needs to keep moving and keep busy as that movement and attention. So that is why she has essentially a lack of an attention span, because this needs to match the input that her brain is receiving, meaning she needs to seek outside stimulus. She needs to move around more. Now, we took this scan along with 2 others, plus Mabel's clinical history, and created a customized care plan that would appropriately tailor what care she needed, with how frequent she should start with adjustments, and we utilized precise neurologically focused adjustments to address subluxation in order to release her from her stuck fight or flight tension and activate the vagus nerve and improve communication between the brain and the rest of the body. The first response most children like Mabel have to specialized chiropractic adjustments is better sleep, more calmness, and improved sensory regulation. So Mabel's mom immediately saw an immediate impact on sleep. She went from not being able to sleep before 9 p.m. to falling asleep when mom was reading her a book, a bedtime story. And instead of waking up before 6 a.m., mom was having to wake her up to get ready for school. Mabel's story turned into fewer emails from school, and now 6 months later, teachers are in awe of what she does and how she has had this huge transformation. And a lot of them are curious about how she did it without medication. So it is very cool to do what we do. And if this sounds like you and you're ready to address the cause of your child's neurological challenges head on, we would love to help you. And always know there is a safer and more natural options that exist in order to address vagus nerve dysfunction and improve neurological communication and overall function. So we are here for you. We're ready if you're ready. So we'd love to see you in the office and see how we can help you. Peace and love.